Hi, I'm Chris. Welcome to my channel. I thought I would do a little introduction, a little bit about my art history. I grew up in a family where we explored art and nature, and my mother always had crafts for us to do, like salt and flour dough and bean mosaics and pasta mosaics, pressed flowers, all kinds of things like that. After high school, I went to community college, and I also started working full-time, so I went to college part-time. I took all kinds of art classes, whatever interests me. I've always been interested in how different mediums are used and what kind of tools you need and how to do it, and I would want to learn how to do it, and then I would learn it, and then something else would spark my attention and I would move on to something else. When I was 23, I taught myself how to do bookbinding from looking it up in the library, because that was before we had the internet. And when I was about 30, I made some larger books. I made this book, which I used as an idea book to write down different ideas for things I wanted to make or do. I had big ambitions. This one has art paper, has drawing paper, it has tracing paper, and it has watercolor paper in it. And this was a trip that I got to take to Europe. I used some of the tracing paper as a place to press leaves. I glued these leaves and feathers and flowers on the page, and then I glued around the edge while I was on the trip. And I did my journaling on the sides. I kind of got tired of journaling because I was gone for 5 weeks, and it was harder and harder to catch up. But I did have notes and photographs. This book has the same pages in it, the art pages and the tissue in it. And this I used while I was taking classes. And when I was also about 30, I decided to really learn watercolor. It had kind of scared me, like a lot of people are a little shy of starting out with watercolor. And this is one of the class lessons that I really liked. And so I started doing watercolor, taking classes, workshops. And so then I started making my own art journals, mostly watercolor, some pen and ink. This one is ink illustrations with watercolor painting. And this one is watercolor painting. This is actually the latest one. This is the last one I did at the end of last year. And this one, I believe, is I was working with graphics and doing different kinds of borders with different mediums. And here's another one that I made. This one is watercolor, strictly watercolor with no ink. I just do a pencil drawing and then paint it in. A lot of them were done on location around where I live. This one is all color pencil. I wanted to learn how to do color pencil, and so I did a lot of color pencil. Let's see, what else do I have? I've done junk journaling. This is a junk journal from a trailer trip I took last summer. And I took all the pieces with me, and I gutted the book, and then I took all the junk pages with me, and I put it together in my little trailer while I was camping. And that was fun. I enjoyed that. It has the little happy camper on there. This is a junk journal that's for keeping notes. This is actually an altered book. I used the pages in the book. I added tabs to the pages. I had a lot of pockets. I took a lot of pages out of this little book so that I could fit in my notes. So I'm always taking notes on scraps of paper. I need to take them in a journal. Okay, so this is an altered book. This is a lap book, totally inspired by Nick the Booksmith's style of lap books. It has a journal inside, and I use this to keep track of my garden. This year I want to really get more flowers in my garden and get my garden working well. And so I do that in there, and I can do a more of a flip through someday if anybody's interested in seeing this particular book. It's made with two My Book House books, which I bought probably 20 years ago. Here's another altered book. This was the book called Life Log, which was kind of a boring book. And I used the pages and I covered up the forms. You were supposed to fill out the forms with your different life events through your life, and there were no prompts or graphics or anything to make it interesting. And I made this book. I've not decided yet what I'm going to do with this book, keep it or sell it. And then here's another book. This was one of my grandmother's books. She enjoyed reading all kinds of poetry, and she gave this book to me. And there's some poetry I enjoy, but not the particular poetry in this book. So I turned this into a bits and pieces album, and this is just where I glue in things that don't have a place. They go from desk to drawer to basket to cupboard to storage, and they're little things, and it's like a scrapbook. So it has little things. Here's some pins that I got when I was working in the dental field. And then I love Scotty dogs, and so instead of buying everything I see in the catalog, I just cut out the little picture of the Scotty dogs. So that's an altered book. This book here I made from a cereal box. It has 6 signatures in it, and each signature is made with a manila folder. On the outside of the signature. So here's a signature, and here's the manila folder folded up, and then it has this sort of a parchment kind of a paper, another manila folder, and then this is an idea book. This is where I put samples of things that I have purchased on Etsy, like these little envelopes, and then I remember who I bought them from, and then also samples of some ideas I have for embellishments. And this has an elastic binding, so this book can expand. If anybody would like to see flip-throughs of any of my books, I can do a video on that. Okay, I've cleared off my desk. There's a couple of other things I want to show you. One thing that I've been working on recently is repurposing packaging. I love repurposing and remaking and redoing and upcycling and recycling, and this cute little compartment, as you call it, what would you call it? This cute little box is made out of packaging. I can't remember now what they were. I did a video on this, which I'll be posting soon. It was like an aspirin box, and then another box that I cut down a little bit, and this is just corrugated cardboard from packaging and some little wooden pieces that I've had. So I didn't buy anything new to make this. And I'm planning to use this on my reading table. I like to curl up on my love seat and by the window and read, but I get all comfortable and then I can't find my glasses, or my glasses are smudged. And so I made this little thing, and glasses cleaner I got from the optometrist goes in here, and then the little cloth that I got with my glasses fits right in there. And then I have some reading glasses. These are from the Dollar Tree, and they fit in there. And it looks real cute on the little table by my reading chair. But it's something like this could be used for craft room organization too. And I plan to make some more like this. For instance, with this one, you could use this to store tags in that you're going to work on. So we got those big tags that can fit in there like that. And then there's some smaller tags. Tags can go in here. Let's see, what else do I have? I have some tags from packaging, from some Christmas presents. They can go in there, and then they'll be handy for when I'm ready to do some embellishing. Let's see, I've got some little tiny tags in here that can go in there. These can go in here. So that could sit on my craft table and be real handy when I'm working on small crafts like that. But I like it for my reading table. I think it looks really pretty on my reading table. And then I'm working on another project, which I'm doing a video, and this will be a bigger one. This is really big compared to the small one. And this will be for paper scrap storage. So I have one in here, a bin right here, that's for larger paper and then smaller paper. And then this I'm going to divide. And then this I'm going to divide in sections also. And then also I like to repurpose things like frames. And so this is just a small wooden frame, and I cut a piece of balsa wood. I think this is actually a piece of, this might be a piece of pine. And then I painted it and inked it up. And that hangs on the wall, and you can change what you're showing. Put little things. I'll put a picture in here to show how I use this. And I've made larger ones too, and I'll maybe put some pictures of those in there too. Another thing I repurposed, my grandfather made this little box, and he used it for his shaving kit when he would travel. He was a police detective, and once in a while he had to take an extradited prisoner out of state, and it still smells like his soaps. But this is all the original finish as I found it, and it still had his old razor blades in it. But what I did was I use it for little trims and ribbons, and so I put some craft papers, some scrapbooking papers down in the bottom of each one of these little cubby holes, and then I keep it on my counter. And when I want a little bit of sari silk, I don't have very much of that right now, or some scraps of twine that have been tea-dyed, some little bit of cheesecloth that's been tea-dyed, some fabric strips, then I can just grab this little box and remember my grandfather. And I think I'll find a picture of him and paste it up in the front here. That would be cute. So I enjoy recycling and repurposing things like that. As I said earlier, I started making books in my 20s. I also started collecting vintage books. I really like the decorated covers and the design of them. This is Max, A Cradle Mystery. I haven't read this one. 1889. This one, Horatio Alger book, Frank Fowler, the Cash Boy. I read this one last year. It's really cute. It was a Christmas present to Robbie in 1890, and it is from 1887. Horatio Alger wrote stories of adventure for boys, and they always had a message that if you were good and honest, it would pay off for you. My favorite books are the Art Nouveau covers, so that would be about 1910, 1920s. And I love the Art Nouveau style. This one is 1912. And you can see by the way that this book is laid out that this was an expensive book to produce, because a publisher wouldn't want to have all this open space. They would want to fill it up and use less paper. This is a collection of short stories that appeared in women's magazines, and when the woman who wrote them passed away, her daughter had this book published in her memory. And I've read most of these stories. I'm still I'm about here near the back, and they're cute stories. They're light romances. They're adventures. They have these really cute illustrations in them, and it just is a window into what society was like in those days, and what people thought of romance, their idealistic views. And this is the most expensive book I've purchased so far. I love that tanzanite blue color on there. Here's another one with a beautiful iris Art Nouveau cover on it in the gold. This one has a recipe for cranberry lemon jello in the front. The front page is, I don't think I have a publication date on this one. This is called The Lamplighter, or An Orphan Girl's Struggles and Triumphs. The beautiful Gibson Girl type illustration. This is a novel. So I counted them just now as I was pulling these off the shelf, and I have about 50 vintage and antique books, most of which cost me, I would say, an average of $2. And so over all these years, I think it's a nice collection. Some beautiful artwork. This one has a colored front piece in it. So thanks for watching, and share this video with your friends who also like to do this kind of crafting. And please subscribe and hit the notification button so you know when I post a new video. And have a great day and keep crafting. Bye bye.